This conference will now be recorded.
So actually we were seeing while loop. Let me quickly show while loop again. So while statement is Python is one of the most general way to perform iteration like for loop. While statement will repeatedly execute one particular, the block of data given inside the while loop as long as the condition is true. So as long as the condition is true, it is going to execute it. When the condition becomes false, it is going to terminate the execution. Yeah, we saw this example actually. So initially I'm giving x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 10 as a condition. So until this becomes true, it is going to execute this part. When this becomes false, it is going to terminate and go outside while loop. So when it goes outside while loop, what is the next statement in the program? It is else. So it is going to print this. So we saw this yesterday. So initially x is 0 and it is executing. Until x is 9, it is going to execute. When x turns 10, the condition will become false, right? 10 is not less than 10. So condition is false. So it will stop executing. It will go to the else and it is going to print all done, right? And we also saw we shouldn't be giving any true statement directly, which means 1 is equal to 1 or true. We shouldn't be giving that. Otherwise, your program will run non-stop until unless you stop manually. And this is all about while loop. And the next thing what we are going to see is break, continue, and pass. So we can use break, continue, and pass statement in our loops to add additional functionality to the logic. In Python, break, continue, and pass are like control flow statements. They are used within loops such as for loop and while loop and conditional structure. Sometimes inside if also we use it to control the flow of the program. So, what is break? Break is used within loops, typically while loops. When break is encountered inside the loop, it immediately exits the loop. For example, I said that while loop will run until the condition is true. So even though the condition is true, at particular case you want to exit, you can give break and it will immediately exit the loop and continue the remaining code. The program continues executing the code after the loop. So it is often used when specific condition is met, you want to terminate the loop prematurely. Then you go for break. So an example is, so let me run this. Why this is not running?
Is it range start from 1 and end 0 or 10?
Okay, I thought it is 10. Actually, I meant 10. Okay. So range 1 starts from 1 and the stop is 10. So it is going to end at 9, right? One step before. So this is how my for loop works. Now I want to tell that do this, but if I is equal to 5, break. Okay. So here you could see 1, 2, 3, and when it is 5, it is breaking. So it is not going to this print statement at all, even to print 5. When it exit, it goes outside the loop. So it is going to line number 7, which is outside the loop, which is not inside the loop. So it is printing exited for loop, right? Yes, understood?
Yes.
So continue. Next is continue. Continue is also used within loops. When continue is encountered, it skips the rest of the current iteration and goes to the next iteration. For example, if I give continue here, so what happens? It skipped 5. See, after 4, directly printing 6, and when all are done, it is printing exited for loop. So the 5, if you want to skip one particular iteration and go to the next iteration, then you go for continue. And pass is actually is not having any functionality to it. Pass is used just as a placeholder in Python. It doesn't do anything and is often used when you need a syntactically correct code, but you don't have any specific action item. For example, initially I'm developing a code and I'm writing for I know only this condition, but I'm not sure what to give inside it, whether I'm going to print or do any calculation. I do not know. But for now, I want to keep this for loop and continue with my remaining coding. In that case, I can use pass. It is not going to throw any error. So to avoid error and when you're working on incomplete or skeleton code and you want to avoid error relating to missing code block, if you don't give anything inside, usually it will throw some error. But now in this case, it is not going to throw any error. Only for that purpose, we use pass. When a program is completed and it is working, you will not see any pass inside it. Okay. So in summary, break is used to exit a loop prematurely and continue is used to skip the current iteration and move to the next iteration in the loop. And pass is nothing but a placeholder when no specific action is required, but syntactically correct code is needed. In that case, you go for pass. So let's see some more example. So here I am declaring x is equal to 0 and x until x is 10, less than 10, you are going to continue this. But only in this case, if x is equal to 3, you are you are going to print x is equal to 3, else you are going to continue. Okay, so let's see how this works first. Why do we see this error? Okay, it should be inside else. So the normal program which we saw before, but additionally I am telling if x is equal to 3, print this, else print continuing. So initially x is currently 0, then x is still less than 10, so we are adding this line is printed line number 16, and then this check is done, it's not true, so it is going to the else part, continuing is printed. Okay, and then it goes on when x is equal to 3. See here, when x is equal to 3, this continuing is not printed, but here this x is equal to 3 is printed. This is skipped, and again it goes to x is currently 3, and it goes on for the remaining. Now, I wanted to apply break here. Let me save this. So this statement I changed and I added break here. Let's see how this executes. So here you see continuing and 1 continuing, 2 continuing, and when it becomes 3, as soon as it becomes 3, it checks and it prints this. That's all. It goes outside the loop because we have break here. So what break does, it takes the line, it takes the pointer to line number 23. It is not going to execute while again, right? So any doubts in list? Sorry, any doubt in while loop, break, continue, and pass?
Can you explain pass again?
Okay, so for example, so pass is not going to anything. Understand that. Remember that pass is not going to do anything. But for example, for example, we have that guess game, right? So I'm thinking, and I'm writing multiple if for everything. But here I don't know what to give. I thought, okay, we are going to print something, but I don't know what to print. So what I'll do, I give pass here. For example, so we have only one statement, that is for. So here you are seeing indentation error, expect an indented block. So it is expecting some block inside for loop, right? In line number 10. After that, it is expecting something. But I don't know what to write inside now. As of now, for example, if I am developing such a big code, and I know I need this, but I don't know what to put. I thought later I'll put, first I'll create only the if conditions, what all is coming to my mind. So in that case, I added pass now. So see, let me execute again. So here it's not doing anything, but still it's not throwing me an error. So while creating a very large code which has multiple logic inside it, I go for pass. Sometimes I don't know the logic, what to put inside that for loop. Maybe I'm thinking what to print. That case I give pass. Later I'll sit and I'll remove all the pass and give some logic here.
Thank you, Anu.
Mhm. You got it right?
Yes, yes.
Next is a list comprehension. So a list comprehension is like one line for loop built inside the brackets, kind of a loop. So for example, if I wanted to create a list, and I'm telling x for x in word. You understand this, right? For x in word, so every element it will take one after other. For every x in word, take the x and put it inside list. That's what it is trying to tell. Now the list will look like this. Let me give this for so here I'm telling for every x in range of 0, 11, raise the x to the power of 2. So it will be like 1 power 2, 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, it goes till 10 square. So that's what given added into the list one after other. I can even do for x power 4. So in this way also you can create a list. So in one of the assignment question, let me go to that question.
Multiples of 3
So
between 0 to
correct,
50.
correct. So between 1 to 50 multiples of 3, we can write it in for loop and add it to the list. We can append it to the list. If we have to write it in one line, it will look like this. List func equal to list of I'm using range function here, but if you have to use comprehension, so range, you know what is range, and now it is going to create me a list 1. Same way, so list 2 equal to x for x in range 1, 51 if x modulo 3 equal to 0. So I'm adding one more if condition. So first I'm telling for x in range 1, 51, if x is 3, I mean 3 modulo, it is divisible by 3, add that x to the list. Or I can give for every x in range of 0, 5, 3, the same thing. Instead of using list keyword, I can add this range exactly here. I can remove the if condition because it is going to give me a range of only number divisible by 3. That also I can put here and remove the if condition. And there was one more question like I have given a string and I was asking to put all the starting character into the list of all the words. So here I can give list 1 equal to for every x in string, but I have to split, right? If it's a sentence, I have to remove take one word after the other. So I'm giving split. Usually in code, what we do first, we split and save in some variable, and that variable we will use in for loop, right? So what I'm doing here, I'm splitting, and for every x in this statement, get me only x of 0 and put it to the list. List 1 will look like this now. Guys, understood? Any doubts, question? So next is guessing game. Guessing game I give you can understand on your own if I give the program. If you don't understand particular line or logic, or if you wanted to try using different logic for the same output, you can do that. Mm, And apart from that, there is one simple program I want to give it as an assignment. You want to reverse a list. If the user is giving a list is in an input, you just have to reverse it and print the list. Reverse the list. So for reverse list, either you can type and send me over WhatsApp, or you can take a screenshot of your code and output and send me. Okay. So the next topic is we have actually successfully completed objects, data structure. Now we are going to method, function, object, class, all those things, higher building blocks of Python. So initially we will start with methods. I know you guys know what is method. You have a rough idea of what is method. Let me. So we have already seen some example when learning this object and data structure in Python. Methods are nothing but we have seen like list.append, list.pop, and we have seen some method. I have said that when you call a method, you have to give object dot method name. So that is a general form. Usually, whenever you have to call a method, you have to give object dot method, and if that method is having some argument, you have to pass the argument inside it, otherwise empty will do fine. Later on I'll show when we go into OOPS, object oriented programming and classes, I'll show how to create our own object and our own method. But when it comes to this list dot, we are just using the existing object and method created by Python, which is already available, readily available in Python. This we are using. So method is nothing but method is similar to a function. Just like a function, it does something. We can call a function, but the only difference is the method is built only for that particular object, so you can use only for that particular object. For any other object, you cannot. For example, dictionary you cannot give pop, and for tuples you cannot give pop because it is specifically created only for list object. So you have to give list.pop and it will work only for that. But it's similar to function. It has some logic inside it built already, and we are just going to call it, and it is going to do whatever is written, the logic written inside that method. And the one more thing I wanted to show is, for example, here we know list.append, list.pop, and I have one list called list one. Okay, let me take this list one. Oh, list one is updated. Okay, list one, and I want to count how many O is there. Hmm, I want to count how many O is there inside the list. So it is 2. So it is giving me 2. And if I'm not very sure what this method is doing, I can give help list dot count. So it is telling me for this method description, this method has 3 different parameter. They are optional, that is why I'm not giving all 3 here. It returns the number of occurrence of this value. Oh, self, you can ignore self. You will learn what is self. This has no meaning here. This is not a parameter. Self is nothing but it is telling that it is working for some object. It is inside some object. You can ignore this. So value, it returns the number of occurrence of value. For example, help list.pop. So here it is telling if index is equal to -1, it starts from the reverse, right? The last element is popped. When you give pop, what happens is the last element. So index of -1 is popped. It is telling remove and return the item at index, this index -1. Default is last. And raises index error if list is empty. If you are trying to pop an empty list, it is going to raise index error or either index error, or it is going to tell index is out of range. So this you can use help to understand any method available. And so this is all about method. You just want to understand what is method. Later we will see how to create method and object. For now we are just using the existing method and existing object. So function is one of our main building block. We construct when we construct larger and larger amount of code to solve our program. And function is actually useful because it groups together a set of statements so that it can be run more than once. You can repeat calling the function. You just have to understand which code block should come inside that function, and you can also specify some parameter, and the function will take that parameter as an input and it will return some output to you. So when you have to use function, you should use function when you plan on using a block of code multiple times, and the function will allow you to call the same block. You remember we have recursively calling a function. From the function, we are calling the same function, for example, Fibonacci series or factorial. So in that case, you cannot you need otherwise the function is not there. If no concept called function in Python, then what we have to do? For Fibonacci series, you have to repeat the same logic again and again. You have to write it multiple times in your code, right? So that is not required because you have function. So in that case only you go for function, and we have to start creating function with the keyword called def, and your name of function and your arguments or parameter, both are same. Argument, you can give a number of argument. It depends on how you define, and then you are going to after that definition you will have logic and you will have written statement, right? So if you have to understand all the built-in function available in Python, that is a website. So in python.org, here you see a list of functions. They have alphabetically ordered. So you can just go and understand that. Zip, I haven't thought what is zip. Most of the function I haven't thought. Dictionary we saw here, and here we haven't seen anything. So these are the callable and all is an advanced which we will see in OOPS, and help we saw. This hashes when you go to a hash, and object is when you go to object. Set we saw, sum we saw. So yeah, this is the only list available inside Python. If you wanted to understand all the function, you can understand that. You can use this website. I'll add it to the document. I'll print it here as well. Function, I need not explain how to create a function, how to return. I believe you all know what is function, how to do all those things. Now we are going to see some expressions in function. This is an advanced topic in function. We are going to see lambda expression, map, and filter in function. So map is like, let's see what is map function. Map is like it map allows you to map a function to an object, to an iterable object like list, and I mean that is to say you can quickly call the same function to every item in the list. So let me show an example. Definition. I'm going to create square. And I have a list. Now I'm going to create a map function. It is going to have two different arguments. You see the pop-up what it's showing function. You have to give function here, then the iterable object. Okay. Make an iterator that computes the function using argument from each of the iterables stops when the shortest iterable exists. You know, I don't understand anything from this, but the argument is first argument is function name and the second argument is some iterable, something called a list or tuple, something. So here, or string. So here I'm calling square function and then I'm giving my iterable. So this will just map and create, but if you want to see the output of this map, I have to convert it to list. For example, I'll show it in the terminal maybe. So this is our function. Then later we have my number. What's the issue? Okay. We have a variable my number and we have a function. Now I'm going to use map function name as sq and then list is my number. So it is like the output looks like this. Map object is created. So the object is created. It's not displayed. So if I wanted to see the output, what I'll do, I'll do this. So here it returns square of all the number. My number is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when I call the square function, for every number inside the list, it is squaring. So just using map will not give me the output. The output will look like this. So if I wanted to see an output, I have to convert it into the list. So here I'm going to add list. In terminal, you need not have print and all to see the output, but here in program you should have a print statement, right, to see any output. So I'm going to give print. So it is telling the new list is 1, 4, 9, 16, and 25. So otherwise, what if map is not in place? What we will do? We will take the output, take the list. We will pass the list to the. We will pass the list to the function, and then for each item in the list, you will be writing a for loop. Even that would work, but this is a use of map. You can, if you wanted to call a iterable object and pass it to a function, then you can make use of map. So let me show one more example. So this is my function. So here I'm passing a string and I'm checking if that particular word is even, and if it is even, I'm going to return even. So here it is even. Okay. So otherwise, I'm going to give the first element of the string, that is the 0th index item. So here my list is, so instead of giving one single string, I'm going to pass a list. So here this is my list, and I can do this list of map. I'm just going to call splicer function, and the input is my names, right? I'm just going to say this list one slicer. I'm just saying. So this is my function. I know you understand this function. Here I'm just, you have a list of names, and I'm just using map function to call the function for my names, and then printing the new list. So my output is created list is. So the first name is even because it has only 4 character. The 4 is even, so it is printing even. This is not even, so it is printing C. Here also same. So here again 4 character, it is printing even. Right? So this is how you can use a list. You can use list inside a function. If you wanted to pass list inside a function, you can make use of map. The next example is okay, the next topic is filter. So filter function returns items of iterable for which the condition is true. So it is going to, if there is a list and it is going, if you wanted to filter some item from the list and you have condition for the filter, then it is going to apply that filter and it is going to return the output. For example, you have a filter which will tell whether that condition is true or false. If it's true, it is going to give you that. Otherwise, it's not going to give you that output. For example, so I have a function check even. So only the even number, what it's going to do, it's going to check whether a number is even, which is a number modulo 2 is equal to 0. Only that it is going to return, right? If it's not equal to 0, it is not going to return. So I have numbers like so here I have a filter condition, filter check even. So this is a function and this is my list. So filter is again like you're going to give a function name and the variable. I mean, whatever it is, either it should be actually iterable item, so it should be list or string, something like that. So here you see when I use map function, originally what the function does, it is going to return this. So what is the output of this condition? Number modulo 2 is equal to 0. It is doing So this is what is that comparison operation, right? When you do compare, what would be the output usually? The output is always either true. It is a boolean. Output is boolean, either true or false, right? So here I'm comparing. But if I use, generally, if I don't use filter and if I use map, it is going to give me true, false, something like that, right? Because that is what we are returning. We are returning a boolean. We are returning a output of comparison. But if I go and use, but I don't want to see true or false, I just want to filter only the even number from the list, then I can go and use filter. So it is going to, for these all true condition, what all becomes true, it is going to filter only that. The false is removed and only the true items are filtered and created here as a new list. Is it clear, guys? Is it clear? Yes or no? Why the class is very silent today? So today topic is all small topics. So like we have seen multiple topic, while loop, break, continue, pass, and what does method, function, what is map and filter inside functions. Okay, filter again. So here, let me create one more. So if at all I'm going to write a normal for condition, how it will look for every. So here I'll be giving the list as an input. So now I'll be creating one more list, empty list, maybe even list, correct? And what I'm going to tell, for item in num, which is nothing but a list. For item in num, return num is equal to 2. So this you understood, right? This is when you return something, the output, otherwise I'll do this. If num equal to 0, this you understood, right? So if the number is even, if it is divisible by 2 and the remainder is 0, return true, else false, right? Here, so instead of giving this, I'm directly giving return here. So it is going to return the output of this. What is output would be either true or false, right? So I'm returning this either true or false. And now what I'll do, so this is my number and I have to now call the function, right? List1 is equal to check even of numbers. So here the input is numbers. This variable I want to call, I want to pass to this function, and I'm saving it in the output. I'm saving it into new list one, and here I'll be printing it. So let's see what is the output. Let me run this. Okay, here it is item, and I have to give that item here. The new list created is true. Okay, we are returning only true. So what I can do, I can, if I wanted to add the true to the list, I have to append the output of this if condition into this list, right? So if I take this list and append true or false, if it is even, it is going to append true. If it is false, it is going to append false. And finally, I'm going to return even list. So your list looks like this: true, false, right? So I'm adding each element to the list and I'm printing this. So if I do this in map, what I need not do, or I need not have all this, I just have to return true or false. So I can just give Control X, V, and I can remove them. I need not have this 4 also. What I just need is let me copy this, Control C. Okay. So I need not have all those code. I removed everything. Now I'm just creating a map and creating a new list out of the map, right? Name item. Where is item? Okay, here it is now. So here the output is the new list is true, false, true, false. You understood? If we have map, I need not write all those logic. Okay, Similarly, I'll write logic for filter. What I'm going to do is even list. So if the item is even, then append that particular item. Okay. If it is false, you need not append anything. I don't want to append anything. Okay. Here return even list. So if the item is even, I'm going to append that item to the list and check events numbers. Okay. So you see, so for all the even item, I'm adding it to a new list, and the new list is what I'm printing here in list one, right? Here I have a list name as even list inside the function. I'm returning this list, and the return list is saved into list one, and that is what I'm printing here. So this, what I can do, this I can rewrite as filter. So what it does, it checks only if the number is even and picks that only that even number and put it inside a new list. So here what I'll do, I can call filter condition, filter, and here I need not have all this. Here again it
Return
is not
num
item, it
percentage.
is num. Mhm. So you understood what the logic is. That logic I'm replacing it with filter, I'll get the same. So the same thing we written for map also, the same thing we are writing for filter, but here I'm just using filter function. So you see the same output we got. So what filter does is, I'll go back to the previous code. So for the same thing, if it is only true, it is going to append the item, not true or false, output of this, not output of this. It is going to pick that item, for which item it is true, that particular item it is going to append to the list. If it is false, it is going to ignore that particular item. But map, what it does, for every item, whatever the output is, it is going to create it as a new list. So that is why we see true, false here. So the output is appended, added to the list, true, false. Here, if the output is true, that particular element is added to the list. Till still it's not clear. It's still, is it confusing you? Okay, if it's still not clear, you let me know. I can explain you separately, maybe at the end of the class.
So here, instead of writing all the for loop and all, we are just giving
Uh-huh.
the map function.
Yeah, right.
The logic is done
Correct.
inside.
Correct. So the map, it is similar to for loop. You are taking each item. What in for loop you are telling, take each item and perform this action and add it to a new list. That map does. So what map does, it passes all the item to the function. So for loop is removed, and then here a new list is created. So creating an empty list and returning the empty list is also removed, and that logic also we can remove, and we are just
Filter
saving it
also
and we are just printing.
filter also does the same thing, but if the condition is true, that is appended.
If the condition is true, the element, that particular
The
element
element
for
is
which the condition is
okay.
true, that particular number is appended.
Okay.
So you can imagine like if you wanted to filter only the even number, you just have to tell whether it is true or not, even or not. So this function is going to tell only whether the number is even or not. To know whether the number is even or not, you're going to write this code, right? Number equal to 0. If you're just directly returning it, it will filter and it will put it in your new list. Filter only the even number and put it you can imagine like that. Any doubt, guys? If you're not that clear about filter and map, I can take some more example for you guys to feel comfortable. Otherwise, we can move on to the next topic. Actually, now uh, it's late for, I mean, I cannot extend the class after this. It would be late for some of the guys. So I can wind up the session here. We can see either filter and map some more example tomorrow, or we can go with a new topic. You guys, based on your understanding, I can decide. So guys, tell me whether you want a few more examples for filter and map, or you want me to go to the new topic. Okay, Rajita is telling it's clear. What about Sam, Tilly, and Sirisha? Okay, so the assignment is the user will give a list. You have to reverse the list and print the reverse list to the user. So print the reversed list. And this guess game also, what I'll do, I'll add it to the document today now immediately. You guys and try to understand this. I'll give what is the game rules in plain words in pseudocode. Then the program I'll paste. If it's not that clear, let me know. I can explain it. And after going through this guess game, create a program to reverse the list. Okay, if all understood filter and map, then we can go with the new functions tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow. We can wind up here.